welcome to Mixed Media, a weekly podcast where we talk about all things, well, maybe not all things, but many things related to different arts, particularly, more recent stuff, contemporary stuff. Yeah, so we are live podcast. We stream live every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific, and you can also listen to us or watch us afterwards too. On I don't even know all the platforms that we're on, but we are on many platforms. So today we will be responding to people's hot takes on things on the internet. Before we get to that, I'd like to introduce myself and my co-host here. So I am Ben Costello. I'm a flute player and a media composer.
I'm Nathan. I'm a game developer and 3D modeler.
Oh. And I'm Irving, and I just figured out where the mute button is. There it is. I'm a filmmaker and media entrepreneur. I own a company called Ariella. You can find my website at ariella.co.
All right. So we've done this sort of thing before. Sometimes we've done it with all three of us, all responding to different comments people have left, opinions they've left on the internet, particularly on Reddit. Sometimes we've just had one of us doing it. Today we're going to have all three of us going through some different things we found for ourselves and also people found for us. So I don't know. How would we like to get started today?
So I've got ready to roll for me first. I've yet to pull in the other stuff yet. So I'm just going to randomly pull up one. I did not see... I saw maybe the headlines for some of these, but I didn't really read any of them. So these are really my live, fresh reactions. So let's see here. Let's pull it up. That's tiny. Let's make it bigger. So what is this one about? If I can manage to make it bigger. There we go. Okay. It says, African homemade movies are more enticing to watch than a lot of modern Hollywood crap. Interesting. So they're talking about the different qualities of African homemade movies. And yeah, of course they mention Who Killed Captain Alex. That's what I was waiting for. Now, have either of you seen Who Killed Captain Alex? Well, actually, I know Nathan has. Yeah, I watched it with you.
I've never heard of it. So.
Okay, likely you've seen the meme, the meme that goes along with Who Killed Captain Alex, which is this crazy. I can't even describe it. You should just Google it real quick, and you'll kind of get the vibe of what Who Killed Captain Alex is like.
All right, I'm Googling it.
Okay, and this film is definitely special. It's one of the funniest things I've ever watched in my entire life. No joke, not even close. Maybe S tier comedy, maybe top 3 comedy I've ever watched, maybe the top comedy I've ever watched. I don't even know. So if this person's going to talk,
it's definitely top comedy for me. I think I don't watch that many movies, and let alone comedy specifically. But I mean, from what I've watched, I think this blows everything else out of the water.
Yeah, it's unironic too. It's actually just a hilarious comedy. I think a lot of people they used the meme as an opportunity at first to make fun of African homemade films. Then it became sort of a more generalized use meme to talk about or just dankness in general and captioning and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, the artist put a tremendous amount of work into making this film, and it's made as a comedy, as a tongue-in-cheek comedy. It's not supposed to be serious. I know a lot of people have a misconception about that because of the meme. I've seen a lot of people say really stupid stuff about it, unfortunately.
That was my original thought. I think my original thought was like, because like I just the default assumption is that it's serious,
Yeah.
And then I think because I'm pretty sure I showed you the movie. Yeah, I think I went in thinking it was gonna be serious, and then after some time, I was like, "Oh, this is not serious." Like, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be taken that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's literally a what's the word? Parody. That's literally what it is. And it's just one giant deep fried meme of a movie from front to back. And I've never seen a lot of the creative stuff in it. Like there's a lot of creative, I'm again being 100% serious here. Like the use of narration for comedy in this movie is unlike anything. I don't know if there's anything like that out there in cinema as a whole. Like he literally calls himself a video DJ or a VJ. And he interprets the film for you as it goes along, and tells you what's important and not important, and it's freaking hilarious. So, yeah.
So to be clear, this is intentionally comedic, though.
Yes, 100%. In fact, I actually ordered the. Did you have it on Blu-ray or DVD? I can't remember if it's available on Blu-ray. It's kind of funny thought, but I bought it from Hollywood Films. And its sequel, Bad Black, which is also pretty amazing. And I bought it, and it arrived in this dank packaging that was handwritten on it, and it was like a bunch of stickers. Like it's a brand. The whole thing is a brand. I love it. It's just everything about it's dank on purpose. And I just hope that people actually give them credit. Like, Who Killed Captain Alex won like a gigantic film festival. I can't remember which it was, but 100% merited. Like legit one of the funniest movies I've ever watched in my entire life. I was rolling the entire time. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like the general slop that Hollywood puts out, well, yeah, this is one of the best movies ever made. So obviously it's going to be better than
That's pretty high praise.
Oh yeah, I 10 out of 10 recommend. I think on my Letterboxd I either rated a 4.5 or literally a 5. I don't know what I would do better. Honestly, nothing about it gets tiresome or dry. It's just like a lively, stupid movie that's trying to be stupid on purpose and trying to make you laugh, and it's freaking hilarious. You don't have to. And I imagine if you're African or if you're where is Hollywood?
Ugandan.
Yeah, Ugandan. Yeah, I'm sure if you're Ugandan, then it's probably like 3 times as funny. But unfortunately, I can't understand the Ugandan jokes in there. But the rest of it is just freaking hilarious, no matter who you are. So, and it's a great story. The whole story of how that film became famous is a great story. Okay, so yes, agreed. It's essentially highly recommend. Let's see if I can pull this in seamlessly. While I'm doing that, how are you guys' weeks actually? How are you guys doing?
All right. Not too much of interest. Looking forward. We got a nice talk on Monday with a bunch of pretty significant people in the not just the film music industry, but just the general music industry for students here. So we got like both Taylor Sparks and her agent are going to be at this talk. So it should be interesting.
I don't know, just school stuff. I guess picking up. I guess in the amount of time required to do stuff. Pretty normal week otherwise. Yeah. see. Well, in the meantime, don't forget to join our Discord server. Link is currently covered by the current thing on the screen, but I think it was ariella.co/mixed dash media or just mixed media. Okay, ariella.co/mixed media. You also find it in the description or I don't know, whatever they call it on whatever platform you're on. You'll find a link to everywhere. So if you could join our Discord, that'd be great because then you can be like you can have an influence on what we talk about. You can talk to us after the show, before the show, whatever. And yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. This one is for Ben. Let me pull this up. There we are. So let's see what this one's about. It says, so you found this one for yourself, right, Ben? So this one's about listening to music the day of symphony concerts, if you want to describe it.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's my fault. Yeah, I'm just pulling up the text myself so I can read it all because it's short and it's kind of interesting. And not just the comments in it were interesting too. So let's see. Person says, "I'm going to my first orchestra concert, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and I have the idea of depriving myself of all music or as much as I can throughout the day. It may sound cringe or silly, but my reasoning is that it will just enhance the concert and make me more aware and mindful of the music being performed. I feel like nowadays music is being played everywhere 24/7, and so I get kind of desensitized to it in a way. So is this a good idea, really dumb idea, or have any of you done this before? Thanks." Okay, so it's an interesting question. And what I found particularly interesting was like every single comment on here, 11 comments, they were all saying, yeah, it's a cool thing. Or like, I've done that, or like, variations of that. Nobody said like that's a crazy idea. I'm like, really? You're just gonna you're gonna make sure you don't listen to anything? You think that's gonna like affect your concert going experience? Personally, I mean, so first off, like, great you're going to your first orchestra concert. And as person points out later, that the program is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony and Vivaldi's Four Seasons, which is like, you cannot get a more stereotypical classical concert than that. It's like, I don't know. It would be like you going to a concert, like a classic rock concert, but they do two songs and it's like, I don't know, Stairway to Heaven and like Hey Jude or something. I don't know. So you got like the most, stereotypical classical concert in the world there that you're going to attend. But good that you're getting into the world of that. See, I get the idea of like not listening to something, 100 times in a row. Like every musician, and not just every person, probably has this problem in music where they're like, especially with streaming, where you like open up your app and it's like it's going to suggest what you listened to last. And you're like, well, it's right there. I'm going to click on it again. And so everyone has this problem of like, if you listen to the same thing, no matter how good it is, too much in a short period of time, you get a little bit sick of it. So okay. Would I, like, if I'm going to a concert, am I going to listen to the piece like 3 times in a row, an hour before I head out? No. But does like my listening to a lot of music color my experience of hearing a concert? I don't think so. I listen to music all day. I don't think it's ever affected my appreciation of what I've heard. Made me more, made me less mindful of what I hear in the concert. You just have to be prepared that when you go to a concert that like it's a different sort of experience hearing live music than it is listening to music however you listen to it. So personally, I think I don't see how doing that could benefit you in any way unless you're talking about listening to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony right before it. Even if you do that, like, probably not gonna, unless you listen to it obsessively beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good thought that you want to like not be desensitized to it, but like yeah, if you're I think the person's point here is that like yes, if you just go through life and like yes, there's always music somewhere in the background, even if you're not playing it for yourself, that you just stop listening to it. I mean, but that happens to all of us. And when you go to a concert, like it's really hard for that to happen. It's right there in front of you, and you're there to listen to it. So I think it's a good you got a good thought to like want to be sensitive to what you're hearing, but I don't think that the approach that you're thinking of taking and that other people are agreeing with you on taking, I don't think it's really going to make any difference.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like something that people may be agreeing with without actually having done. I don't know, like there are some weird things where people will just pretend to agree with because it sounds like a good idea in theory. I don't know.
I'd make like if you have like an opening band, I'd make that like your experience with the main event worse because you just listen to music before you listen to the main event.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that kind of argument. It doesn't really make much sense to me. It wouldn't make sense to me for a film either. Just be like, I mean, I could watch a movie earlier in the day and then go watch another movie. I don't see a problem with that unless you're going to get tired of watching movies in general, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of strange. Okay, so this one is for Nathan. That was smooth transition. So let's see. So this one says, gaming is a lot worse thanks to Dark Souls. Very strong statement. The game itself is good, but from it spawned thousands of Dark Souls-like games. Everybody and their grandma wants to make a Souls-like game, and I'm sick and tired of it. Many genres have been abandoned in order to find success in a Souls-like game without even knowing what made the great game great. And they kind of go on that topic that they're kind of tired of that trend. So yeah, what's your thoughts, Nathan?
Who's trying to make a Souls-like game like now? I mean, it happens, I guess. It's sort of I don't want to say spawned the genre because I don't think it did, but it made the genre more popular. Sure, but it's like I feel like the peak of Souls-like games was a long time ago, not 22 days ago when this was released when it was posted. I mean, I've never heard of any like I don't even know much about the genre. Like I feel like it's not even that present. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see the problem myself. Also, I don't know if a lot of when the game does that and it comes out and it creates a big splash and then other developers try to copy it or not necessarily copy, but will copy it to some degree and make it their own thing. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's also sort of good for experimentation, right? So, for example, like when Battle Royale was a thing, right? From that, we got PUBG and Fortnite, right? Two of the most successful games ever created. If, games like, The Culling and stuff like that didn't come out before then that were, fairly popular, we would have never gotten those games. And, maybe you don't like those games. I personally don't play either of them, but people like them clearly, and I would say that they are not objectively bad games. So from that, we got more experimentation within that genre, essentially, creating their own flavors, and then you find what works, right? So, for example, Fortnite is like has that whole building mechanic, right? That is not inherent to the battle royale game mode at all. It's just a neat experimentation thing that has happened because when you have like a billion iterations of the same thing, you're gonna find one that's good eventually. So. Yeah, I don't necessarily find that a problem. I mean, I get how it can be frustrating because that all the games that are coming out are like that when maybe you don't even like that genre at all. Although, I mean, it's a pretty wide genre. You must like something in it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe Souls-like is a more specific genre where, I can understand how you might not like any of it because much of it is, I mean, it depends where you draw the line on a Souls like. If it has to be hardcore like that, then I can get why you wouldn't like it. If you're really not up for those kind of challenges, or you are you're how do I say this? You're challenged in you are not good in the department of motor skills is what I'm trying to say. Then I would understand how you really don't like the game or the genre of Souls like. But like I mean, this sucks for you, not for everyone else. Right? Like the alternative is a bunch of people creating a bunch of different games, a bunch of different genres, which is also fine in my opinion. But like I don't know. Maybe there's a point to be made. Because I was about to say, you can still have experimentation even when you're going, and doing the whole, like, not focusing on one genre, right? Like, that's always what's happening. That's always experimentation. It's just that you're going to get more experimentation within the genre that's popular of the time. I don't know which ones. I mean, I would guess that, yes, focusing like the whole industry focus firing on one genre is probably not a good idea for the quality of games in general, because I mean you're gonna start having like overlap, if you get what I'm saying, where this maybe this Fortnite added building and some other battle royale added building and they're very similar just by chance, and now you've essentially almost wasted an idea, if you get what I'm saying. It'd be like, I don't know, two composers coming up with the same exact melody. It's like, well, now what? Whereas if you don't focus on a specific genre, then that is a lot less likely to happen. But I don't think it's too big of a deal, especially with Souls like specifically, right? Like I did not know this was even a problem. So yeah.
It sounds to me like in order to find this to be a problem, you must be trying to play Dark Souls like games. Like I don't know how you would.
Oh, I see.
It's not like that. Literally, the entire industry is doing this. Like you must like Souls, and therefore seek out games like Dark Souls, and realize everything's a copy of Dark Souls. That's what I would suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Happens. But there are plenty of games outside of that genre, right? So
yeah, I'm looking at I didn't know this, but Steam has a Souls-like category. That's like I've never heard of most of these things, dude. Like. Like really, like the new and trending like section. It's like the second item on the new and trending has 70 reviews. I mean, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
But it's also not like that's not something that's that's not like something that's indicative of the entire gaming industry focusing on that thing in any meaningful type of way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's see. So the next one is for me, and this one says, "That's a film you have to see in the cinema." No, it isn't. The cinema is rubbish. Nice. Okay. I've got a choice. I can either pay over the odds, sit through a bunch of adverts, sit through a bunch of previews that I can't ignore, and will spoil all the big films because trailer producers cannot keep it in their pants. Nice. It'll be louder than the average Napalm Death gig. I assume that's a metal band or something. I'll be sat next to some F and his wife. Her bladder will be tiny and she'll walk past me twice. he'll be eating.
Sounds like this person just happened to have like one bad experience. Like, how often? I've never had that happen to me before.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I've ever had someone walk past me in a movie, which is very strange to think about.
Yeah, actually,
or any of like the stereotypical like people being too loud with their popcorn. Anyway, sorry, I just shouldn't have interrupted. But like,
no, you're all good.
The one thing I have noticed is like people's like if I see a phone light, that really bothers me. Like I was watching, all of a sudden there's a random light in the corner of my eye. I'm like, come on, bro, why are you here?
Agreed entirely.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and then they said, or watch on my sofa with some comfy blanket and my big TV. Okay, well, this is kind of stupid, but also there's some merit in some other things this person is saying, which I think are the theater's problems. I talked extensively about how theaters don't do a good enough job at selling the theater experience to their customers. But like some of this stuff actually just doesn't make sense to me. Like you say you have to sit through a bunch of adverts and sit through the previews. No, you don't. I don't understand that. Like you literally do not. Like you literally could just come in like I do sometimes.
You just go in late. And
you just go in late. And most theaters have assigned seats, well, especially now, right? So, like, I mean, you just go into your assigned seat and you sit, like, and maybe watch the last 10 seconds of the last preview. Is that so bad?
Like, like, at that point, no one's going to be angry at you for being on your phone,
Right. Yeah,
Or talking to someone or whatever. At least talking quietly-ish,
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to, like, do literally whatever you want, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand this this critique here.
I will agree though that this is not like unique to theaters, but like anything you watch like YouTube or something does the same thing. The volume on not just advertisements, but also particularly the previews is so much louder than even the actual film.
Yeah, I think what happens is that they don't. I don't know. I don't really know what happens, but now that you say it, I think what might be happening is that the loudness, like the loudness standard, they might be using like a TV standard or like a YouTube standard or like internet standard or something like that for loudness for the trailers, whereas the film is, is mastered specifically for the cinema, so it takes advantage of the entire dynamic range of the speaker system. We've got someone in the chat. Best movie ever, Logan. I think that's a hot take, actually. That's a hot take because I think Logan got a lot of mixed reviews. Mr. Hamashiak, I think I'm going to pronounce your name. But yeah, Logan, it looks good. I have not seen it, but I remember it having a lot of mixed reviews. So that is a proper hot take. And if I see it, I will get back to you as to what I think about it. But thank you for submitting your hot take.
Is that the movie in the X-Men universe?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. On Letterboxd, it has I think it has like sort of like a bimodal graph where it has like two humps. So like you can tell that people have mixed opinions about it. Okay, I will get back to your second hot take in a moment. But yeah, so what I was saying about the cinema experience, it's there are something to be said about the people being obnoxious, because this happened to me enough times that it's been a problem. It's particularly at like big event movies where people are maybe this is the only movie they watch in a year, and the general etiquette of being in a movie theater doesn't seem to apply to them for some reason. I actually don't even blame those people, though. I just blame the cinema. I mean, back in the 80s, you couldn't do that. Like, if you were talking during the movie, you would just be ushered out and not even given a refund. That sort of slowly got etched, eroded away as people started complaining more about not getting refunds back and like blaming the ushers for being too aggressive, and the theaters just kind of slowly acquiesced to the Karens of the world, essentially, that got upset with the ushers trying to enforce a good movie watching environment. I think that's silly, though, because you're just degrading. Like you're giving this guy an argument, right? Like you're giving people reasons to not come because you're not serving the wider population of people who just want to sit down and watch the movie. And someone insists on kicking your chair, which has happened to me. I think I was watching Jurassic World, the second one. Terrible movie, but still, I didn't want to be kicked the entire time. The kid behind me was just kicking me the entire time, and it's just like, okay, well, I paid for this seat, so this is kind of obnoxious. And the parents just on their phone, like, this is not a joke. The parents on their phone, kid is kicking my chair, and I'm like, I get this movie is boring and terrible, but like, I still paid for it, and I'd rather get through it than have to suffer through kicking the entire time. So yeah, I think some of that's true in the sense that I think movie theaters shouldn't be afraid to enforce their rules. Don't be mean about it, right? But like, I mean, having an usher walk through one time in the movie just to make sure that that piece is had in the theater would be good. I think even just the presence of an usher walking through, once or twice throughout a movie might make the experience a little bit better on average, just because people know that they have to behave themselves. But generally speaking, that's not, obviously the majority experience. Okay. Oh, wow. So we've got a lot of hot takes coming in the chat. So here, I'll just do this one and then we'll move on. So it says MTV Movie Awards. Best movie performance. Oh, is the MTV Movie Awards today? Am I really that out of
I didn't know
touch with what's going on?
Movie Awards even existed.
Let's see. So no, I don't. Interesting. No, it was like 4 months ago, I think, or something like that. So I don't know what your hot take is here, but I have not seen the MTV Movie Awards. So your other ones, modern day Hollywood is creatively bankrupt, and real cinema and storytelling is waiting a renaissance. 100% agreed. In the next 20 years, the best movies are going to be made under $20 million. Yeah, well, I think that's pretty realistic, honestly, the way things are going. I don't think it has to be that way in terms of budget range and where the best movies are going to be made. But that's been consistently the case, that the better movies are the cheaper ones. But I don't, a lot of people find pride in that sort of like rock band suffering in your garage sort of like mentality of we've got to suffer for our art kind of thing. I actually don't agree with that. There are movies that you just can't make with $20 million, right? Like you couldn't make Interstellar with $20 million. You just literally could not do it, right? But and that's not to say people won't work around the limitations. But I think it's sad that that's the way things are going. I love blockbuster movies. I freaking love sitting in a theater full of people who are hyped and watching compared to some deep introspective movie, which I also love. That's the stuff I like to make more or less. But it's also fun to have a fun blockbuster where things are literally exploding. You're having a great time and everyone around you is cheering. Music is phenomenal. It's just a hype time. You could make Interstellar Part 1 for $20 million. Part 1 depends on how you're splitting it, and I would not split that movie, so maybe we disagree there. Let's see. So let's go on to thank you for your comments, by the way. We love people interacting.
I was
with
muted.
us.
I didn't realize I was muted. I was trying to say something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I said, what's the total budget of Interstellar?
Let me see. Interstellar budget. Let's find out. It was 165 million. So
that's possible for a part. Well, if he's split into three, so he's splitting into three parts. That's possible, right?
Okay,
the beginning part is the cheaper part, right? Well,
I would not. I think functionally as a story, it doesn't make sense as like a 3-part story. It's not a limited series, right? It doesn't fit.
Just hypothetically speaking, just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. Well, if you split into 3 parts, each part is $20 million. You still don't even have like half the budget.
No, because he says that part 2 would be $50 million, and then part 3 is
okay. Oh yeah, I see. Budgets bring out creativity. Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. I think Christopher Nolan's current problem is that he has unlimited reign, which I think he's using to experiment in some ways, which is fun in a sense, but also the cinemas are starving for creative and great blockbusters, and he's the only guy I can see in the near future who's able to do that. And I wish he would just direct his energy towards something a little bit more restrained, more bounded, so that we could get something that will get people in the cinema and absolutely knock their socks off, in terms of like a great creative blockbuster movie that has lasting impact. A blockbuster classic,
About Avatar 2, right? They're making that right now.
Oh, true, yeah. That might be a good that might be a good thing. I think they made all 3 sequels at once, which is insane. That's why it's been so long between the first Avatar and its sequels. James Cameron kind of just became obsessed with his universe and then just went off and said, "I'm doing this for the rest of my life."
Yeah, what if they're bad? Like. Wouldn't that be tragic?
What?
What if they're bad? Wouldn't that be tragic?
I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of scared that they might not be as good as he might want them to be. But yeah, Alien 1. Well, Alien 1 is old, right? It's old, and there's inflation, which is surprising. If you did the calculations, so there's a surprising difference between that money in Alien 1 and now. And Alien also is a lot more restrained than Interstellar in terms of what it's depicting on screen. There's a lot more practical stuff, yeah, but like Interstellar literally has a simulated wormhole, like a physically accurate simulation of a wormhole. So
you mean black hole?
Is it? No, it's a wormhole. Well, and black hole. So both of them are.
The wormhole's also like physically accurate, or whatever.
Yeah, the wormhole is what the scientists were what a lot of scientists who participated in were more interested in, actually, because no one's ever done anything near that high fidelity simulation of a wormhole. So I mean, that's a lot of money to do that, as well as the black hole as well. So, Alien doesn't have stuff like that in it, and it's from a studio's perspective. It's kind of frivolous spending because no one knows what a black hole or a wormhole actually looks like. So you could just make up anything and it would work. But I think, I think for the art's sake, I think it's better because of it, conceptually speaking. So yeah, okay, I'll get back to you. I promise. All right, so this one's for Ben. Oh, we just did this one. Aha! It grew. It became gigantic. Let's make this smaller. So, this one's about instruments. An instrument called the harpsichord. It says, the harpsichord sounds absolutely grating. The harpsichord is used as part of classical music, played by Bach before. The instrument is also associated with vampires or otherwise fitting classical horror themes. Interesting. I don't know if I ever thought about it as being associated with vampires, but now that you say it, I guess I get what you're saying. But I can't stand to listen to it, especially when it is played quickly. It sounds like a bootlegged acoustic guitar. I don't see how it is adored by classical music fans, etc. So yeah, what's your opinion, Ben?
All right, so this is not one I picked for myself, so spawned this totally fresh. Yeah, I mean, is it an instrument I would want to like listen to exclusively? Probably not, but I'm not sure if there's any instrument that I would really want to listen to for that long. Piano is good in that it has a really nice, very variable sound, whereas the harpsichord is not as varied because it's, superficially it's similar to the piano, but it's instead of like the piano, you have a hammer that hits the strings, whereas the harpsichord actually a mechanism that plucks the strings. So there's less, you can't basically there's essentially no dynamics on it. It's got like one volume. So it's a little bit limited in expression, and then partially due to like in the Baroque era, like Bach. Due to the style then, but also just because of what the instrument was capable of doing, you make up for that by ornamentation. So you don't have as great expressive range, but you make up that with ornamentation and the way you play and being really intelligent. And harpsichord players, even today, if you're going to play harpsichord, you have to be very, very good at improvising. So it's an instrument with limitations that you can do a lot of really cool things within its limitations. And despite its limitations, there's so many cool uses of it. like go way beyond just like listening to classical music. I mean, it's a really great instrument at evoking something that's kind of older, like, you know, lots of John Williams uses in Harry Potter and things like that, and it kind of gives it that kind of Renaissance-ish, Renaissance early Baroque feel to especially the third film. So you can add that kind of atmosphere to things, and it's really cool. It's also, you know, you find it in classical music, but isn't trying to sound anachronistic too. Like this kind of obscure Russian composer named Gaya Kencheli, who his Fifth Symphony is, I think it's like to the memory of his parents. It's got some really interesting harpsichord, and it's like alternating between like solo harpsichord and like kind of discordant orchestra. Really wacky stuff, but very interesting too. And of course, there's a whole genre of Baroque pop. And even, you know, and Baroque pop is like kind of related to psychedelic pop, psychedelic rock, which is got a ton of harpsichord. It's like the instrument that lends it the sound to like psychedelic stuff in the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and even like, you know, even if you're not necessarily using it explicitly, like taking inspiration from it, you know, in like the Doors. You know, so I mean, if you don't know that, like, you know, that if you just listen to like a little bit of like Baroque harpsichord, like you wouldn't guess that it would be so influential to like late 60s rock music, but it is. And it's like the distinctive sound of that. I mean, there are other parts that, you know, you need to have some sound kind of psychedelic, but it's just, yeah, I mean, it's got like this sound of like kind of happy, I guess, somewhat drug inspired innocence to it too. You know, which is very far from like someone, you know, like Trevor Pinnock playing harpsichord, you know, playing Bach. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't listen to the harpsichord like exclusively for like a couple hours on end, but despite its limitations, it's got a lot of things that you can do with it. A lot of different associations with it. So I don't know. I take it for what it's really good at.
Yeah, I did not know these genres existed. I didn't know, what was it, Baroque pop? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, things that are kind of inspired by Baroque music that are also pop music. It's more of a, you know, earlier periods of rock thing. I'm not sure there's many people doing that sort of thing these days, but
yeah, makes sense. On a side note, though, did you get a chance to check out Polyphia?
Oh, I did listen to that one song you sent. Yes.
Yes. What were your thoughts? It's okay to trash them.
No, I mean, I thought it was interesting. I don't necessarily think. I mean, I don't really particularly like it. I don't know. I was kind of expecting it to go somewhere a little bit more than where it went, but I can see why it's kind of different than a lot of other things these days, and why it's gotten some you know, popularity associated with it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Rick Beato, but I'm kind of curious to know what Rick Beato says. Like I said, I think I wrote this on Discord, but I'm always curious to know what Rick Beato has to say. I agree with him like 1% of the time, but I'm always it might be a slight exaggeration, but I'm always interested to know what he says. He makes some really sweeping, bold claims, and then often proceeds, in my opinion, to like say, you know, offer no substance for those claims, really. But you have to give him credit for being like one of the biggest uh, maybe along with Adam Neely, those two being like the biggest YouTubers talking about music on like a both popular and a somewhat technical level. So you gotta give him a lot of credit for that. I'm sure I think he's helped a lot of people, and help people kind of get into music. So I'll give Rick Beato credit for that. But when you watch his videos, it's like the 5 secrets to write like John Williams, and then he says like use major chords that are planed. I'm like, oh wow, like that's a shocking revelation,
Lols. I'm not familiar with him besides like watching a few random breakdowns. So I mean, I know who he is, like generally speaking, like in terms of the industry, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. I'm not very familiar with his YouTube videos other than that.
He talks about a larger range of things, I think, than Adam Neely, but I prefer watching Adam Neely to him.
Gotcha. Cool. I would also add that that's probably one of their in their defense slightly. It's probably it's their most popular song, but I think over time I've come to appreciate pretty much everything else that has a lot more genre mixing going on that I find really fascinating.
Yeah, at first I thought good was like, I was like, oh, that's really good, right? And it's definitely my favorite song though from Polyphia.
Yeah. No, 100%. There's like a lot of just interesting, like, it's like, oh, I just caught like a bit of like folk in here, like just for a moment, and then I catch like, a bit of R&B influence, and then I catch like a progression that feels a little bit more complicated than what you typically hear in pop music. And I just think that's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah. No, I mean it's incredibly well put together. I definitely very well crafted. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Also slightly, it's like, it's also also appreciate them on a technical level too for their skill. Like, it's just impressive, I guess. It's like, obviously that's not. I actually thinking about this earlier today, which is interesting, about liking things for their not because like it is aesthetically pleasing or something like that, but rather because it is impressive. And my conclusion, as I was thinking specifically about music, I was thinking specifically about rap and like fast rapping, right? You can rap really fast, and it's like, it's entertaining to listen to just for that reason sometimes, it's like, oh yeah, and it tends to sound good too, hopefully, right? The conclusion I came away with was that that's cool, but it has, at least for me, it never reaches like the peak cool. You know what I'm saying? The peak cool will always be something that sounds good, actually, not something that's just novel. But part of the Polyphia thing is definitely for me is that it's just fun to watch them do impressive things.
Yeah. No, I think I would agree with your assessment there. Like, it's more entertaining than it is fulfilling for someone to be extremely skilled at something. It's another thing, and this is maybe why it's like I can watch someone. I mean, rapping, it's technical. It's like, there's a million ways to dissect like the art of rapping in very like dry and like technical terms. Can talk about cadences and flows, and there's a million different ways to dissect it, and then you can argue then infinitely about who's better than who's more creative than who, what's technically harder. But like, I mean, it's just, who cares when it comes to like, the actual art form, because can you use those tools well, And I think the best rappers are always the ones that combine their technical abilities with their with the art form to like create this mega thing, like Kendrick. But yeah. Cool. All right, let's see. Okay, so this one is for Nathan. I think that you picked this one, and it's very long. So you want to
Yeah,
explain?
I don't. Hold on, let me see what it was. See if I remember what else.
I'm going to cover my face real quick so people can read.
All
If you
right.
want to, yeah.
What is this? My hot take on. Oh yeah. You can you can make it. Well, you can truncate like everything other than like the first two paragraphs essentially,
Okay.
and I can just explain the rest from memory essentially.
Okay.
So I'll read the first paragraph first. Or yeah, I'll read the first paragraph and then I'll explain the rest. All right. My hot take on video game progression. Dude, is this supposed to be like pronounced 308? I know it's the size, you know what I'm saying? I just don't know like
Um. Wait, what are you
what
trying?
measurement are they using, you know? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh, 308. Oh, 30. What is it? 30-8 or so? I don't know. I'm not
Okay,
the
well
most well
that,
versed.
right?
Yeah.
That bullet goes through your skull whether you are level 3 or level 56. I get so pissed off in a game like Odyssey where I can't kill an NPC no matter how skilled I am because I'm too low of a level. I feel like loot progression should only be there to aid my skills, not be the basis for them. Like make it so that higher level NPCs all wear body armor that will stop handguns and make it extremely rare to find rifles at a low as a low level player. Don't make it so that the guy wearing a t-shirt and jeans can sieve up hundreds of rounds of 9 millimeter 9 meter. You're a 9 meter, but I assume he's 9 millimeter. Just
9
because
meter. Sounds like a Soviet thing.
a whole warship gun, but yeah, rounds of 9 millimeter just because he's 4 levels higher than me. Or maybe he meant 9 meter for exaggeration because that would fit the point. But
Yeah.
actually, that would more fit the point. Okay, maybe. And in games like The Witcher 3, makes so that higher level NPCs wear better suits of armor, are better trained, will block your attacks, dodge spells, ambush you, etc. And are always found in groups so that their friends will back them up. Don't just make them more health and damage. Okay, and he goes on to explain a good case of essentially a good example of what he's talking about where they do level progression, right? I don't remember what game it was, but it's not really that relevant. Oh, it was Fallout 2. Or Far Cry 2, I meant. And it was about how something about I don't know, it doesn't matter. Anyways, the core of the point is that essentially video game progression, like, so if you're not familiar, like this is very common in like RPG, MMORPG type games, or even just RPGs, where essentially your character has a level that you are, and you gain generally what's called experience as you play the game by doing whatever tasks you're tasked to do. As you gain levels, your character becomes stronger in some capacity, and the NPCs, which are non-playable characters, so just other people, also have a level. And their level, they're not players; they won't gain level. It'll just be static, right? So maybe this enemy will walk up to you as level 9, and you'll never change levels, usually, right, in general. And so the person's problem is that, a level, say, 100 character, which we'll say is a high level, will look exactly the same as a low 4 character, but will just be able to tank more hits with, say, a gun, for example, which, doesn't look right because if they're not wearing any sort of armor, it's like, what's the difference, right? It's just a number above their head that makes it different or whatever. Yeah, I don't think this is inherently a problem. I think it depends. It's like very gamey, and that's all right for certain applications, right? If you're about your total realism, like for example, say Arma, right? It'd be very odd if the NPC's health was determined by a like level number and not by what they're wearing. That'd be very strange. Is it, what he's essentially saying is that things should be more realistic, which I think is a dangerous path to go down, because like saying that you want games to be more realistic is opening like up a whole new can of worms that you probably did not actually mean to open up. Like like how do you, so for example, right, your character will improve their skills, say their accuracy in a game with guns as they level up, right? But in real life, right, you should increase your accuracy in a granular way, right? You shouldn't just increase per level, right? That would be more realistic if, with literally every point of experience, you improved your accuracy or whatever, right? I mean, but we don't expect the game to follow that sort of logic because the game isn't going for extreme realism or whatever. So, I think maybe there's an argument to be made about immersion, which is not the same as realism, in that it can really eject you from the game if if you're looking at two people who look very similar in terms of what they're wearing or whatever, and one acts like he has more armor on than the other. That could, it depends on the game. If it's something, I don't know, it's hard to explain, right? It is really just a game per game basis. A lot of times, if you're set up with that standard, right, where that is okay, and it's been, maybe the genre has said that's okay, and every game has essentially made that a precedent, it might not eject you from the game, right? I think in general, maybe it should be that they wear appropriate armor, especially for new players, right? So one of the things that are often overlooked in the gaming industry is treating new players correctly, and it's sort of assumed. I think I talked about this before.
I think
I was talking about like UI and something like that or something. But and how video games often just assume you've played a video game like it before. In a case like this, if you haven't played a game like this before, and all of a sudden you see people like running around shirtless and they're able to tank 20,000 shots, right? It's like you're going to be very confused. It's like welcome to the video games industry. But I mean, in that case, would it hurt to put a bulletproof vest on the person? Not really, right? Probably not. I guess it would take. I mean, you probably already have the art assets to do this. Because there's probably some enemy somewhere with a bulletproof vest. They might just not be the high-level one for whatever contradictory reason, right? So, I think this person probably is onto something, but it shouldn't be a blanket statement, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of remember those old debates about what was more realistic, Battlefield or COD?
That is a dumb debate to have.
I mean, like, neither are realistic whatsoever in any, like, sense of that word. COD may actually be more realistic in some ways, which is the funnier thing.
Isn't the TTK lower?
Yeah, TTK, for people who don't know, it's time to kill. So how many... Well, it's time is how it's phrased. I don't know how you measure TTK.
It's like, essentially, you can probably calculate it by, like, essentially taking, like, fire rate of weapon times damage done by a bullet divided by the health of the player, right?
Right, yeah.
I think that would actually, or, on average because obviously not every gun does the same amount of fire rate, whatever, on average, whatever, what you can expect.
Yeah. So in COD, you die a lot quicker, in short, than you would in Battlefield, where you're like a bullet sponge, right? And people are going around talking, I mean, I tend to enjoy a lot of aspects of Battlefield games more. So I'm on the Battlefield side of this equation, probably, in a lot of cases. Although I think this discussion's kind of meaningless in general. But, like, I would not say it's because Battlefield is more realistic, which I think Battlefield was all too happy to let the conversation be about back in the day, with us silly children talking about realism about warfare games. So, it's just kind of silly.
A realistic game about warfare probably wouldn't be very fun. Maybe more traumatizing than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I think realism... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, that just made me... I was thinking of the movie 1917, which... I mean, I've only watched people play, these, like, warfare games. But, like, that's a movie that is just designed to, like, be a video game. Other than, like, the very beginning and very end. It's a great film. It's got some really, like, well, obviously, like, maybe in some of the stuff in the middle too. Like, there's some, like, really haunting, like, personal moments in it. But, like, it's almost a first person movie, and you just fall, like it takes the perspective of like literally the same sort of shots that you get in these games. You're walking around like encountering enemies in the French countryside and shooting at Nazis. And it's kind of interesting that's and it's supposed to be like a very realistic movie too, and like historically accurate, and it's also the continuous take other than like exactly the halfway point. So it's kind of an interesting concept. That was definitely my first thought when I watched it. Was like, this is just looks like a video game.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between historical accuracy and like realism and other things. It's like for example, a historical. Well, I guess it's different. Let's say historical fiction, but that is actually not historically accurate. It's somewhat historically accurate, but yeah, I remember people even talk about the historical accuracy of certain of COD Cold War. It's like, what? Why do you care? Very strange.
Yeah, different genres, folks. That's what genres are for. Speaking different languages practically with different genres of any art form. Really, you're kind of using a tool set to convey your points.
Yeah. I wouldn't even consider something like Arma, which is known for being quote unquote realistic, the most realistic shooter or whatever. I wouldn't say it's realistic. I would say it's immersive. I think, is it even? I mean, I don't know. Realism is a weird thing to say because if you're saying as true to life as possible, as I said before, you wouldn't want to play it ever, right? But okay, if we're saying, I think what is meant by realistic is just as true to life as possible without being traumatic, essentially, while still being fun, right? Sort of.
Or without giving up government secrets, right? Like, didn't you have that write something in Discord about
War Thunder? War Thunder having
personally classified information about some British tank. To try and get them to make the tank behave more like it actually behaves in real life.
Yeah, you see, I think there are cases of isolated realism in games like War Thunder, which, I think that's an extreme case where, okay, you didn't need to do that, but where they try to make it as realistic as possible or whatever. Or like DCS or something like that, where it's the entire thing itself, the whole contained thing cannot be realistic because that wouldn't be fun, but certain elements can be realistic. Things like that. I think that what that means is that the whole thing is immersive. I think immersion is what people are trying to say when they say realistic. And so when you say realistic, though, you end up falling into certain holes where you do something because it actually is realistic. I don't know what it is, but it actually is realistic, but doesn't end up making it more fun or something like that, right? Or it doesn't necessarily even make it more immersive necessarily. So yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about Digital Combat Simulator as well, which is literally a simulator. I mean, they literally use it for pilot training. Several countries literally contract out the game, which is pretty much a simulator for fighter jet stuff. So it's like a fighter jet sim, mostly like Cold War. I can't remember the generation of fighter. What is it? 4th gen? I don't remember. I'm gonna mess it up. But it's like a certain generation before when things are a lot less classified, or the aircraft has been around a lot for so long that literally going to air shows, you can take measurements of what's going on and try to guess at the properties of an aircraft, to the point where you have there's a great video on YouTube of an FA-18 pilot hopping into the FA-18 in DCS and going, "Whoa, I wish we had this in flight school," which I thought was really funny. It was just it literally behaves exactly the way I would expect it to behave, which is pretty insane because a lot of the FA-18 is still classified because it's in service. But it's DCS is kind of like a sandbox with all its realistic components, but you can make it fun, right? It's literally not if I told you in order to play a game, you literally have to go through flight training to be able to understand how to operate the aircraft, you'd be like, you're insane. I'm not doing this. But that's how DCS is like, for the promise that once you learn everything about the aircraft like a pilot might, that it's not going to be still not going to be realistic, but you can immerse yourself knowing that you probably could get into an FA-18 cockpit and know in theory how to operate it, although obviously in practice that's a lot different. You're not feeling G's, you're not pulling G forces while you're sitting in your computer chair. And that's where the game starts to break down, is like, can you emulate fear for your life? No. Can you emulate like the pure adrenaline of being in an aircraft going like Mach 2? No. So, but it's like a different genre of thing. So, yeah. Okay. Do we want to do another round, or do we want to cut it off with news? We're in this weird in between right now.
You could either do long news or short takes, probably,
Yeah. Because I don't think I have news. I don't think, at least.
I can't think of anything either for music.
I had something, I forgot what it was.
All right, so let's try to do a lightning round, and then whatever like tiny bit of news we have, we can go over. Okay, so this one's for movies. Also, oops, I pulled the wrong thing up. Yeah, our friend has left the chat, but I will read his last hot take, or his last comment there. He says, "You take the last Marvel turd made for $150 million and give 15 young directors $5 million each. I bet you gets more hits than just one super predictable blah movie." I don't know if I agree with that in terms of like what will happen. Like, I think they'll make better movies for sure. Like, the 15 directors with $5 million each will end up having a much greater impact at making great films, probably. I mean, young doesn't mean good, so I don't know. But, I presume you're trying to find, like, up and coming talent is what you mean, right? So if you give those people $5 million each, if you gave me $5 million, right, I'd knock your socks off. But but in terms of what the ultimate result of that would be in terms of hits, I don't know if I agree, because I mean, that's just not the way things are. I mean, I don't think you realize how massive of a cavernous difference there is between Marvel hits and every other movie hits, to the point where if I'm, when I talked about Black Widow not doing as well, we're still talking about a movie that, I mean, raked in a lot more money than it probably should have, given, the circumstance, and given, honestly, the quality of the film, probably. It seems like it's pretty much like every other Marvel film, which is to say, I probably wouldn't like it. I mean, yeah, so I think that's not really reality. I think it's more productive to say that there is a cultural problem in terms of the arts in general that I think requires a lot of discussion to get over, really, in terms of what people's consumption habits are and what is actually meaningful in life. And I think that's how we'll get there. And the industry needs to be on board with that conversation, or else we're not going to make it. Okay, so that's that.
I just for reference, I just pulled up Black Widow on Disney Plus to see when it's coming general, free release on October 6th. So it's not that you didn't have to wait that long to like not have to pay an extra. What was it, like $25, something like that,
it was
to watch
something
it?
Insane. It was more than a movie ticket, which is what like really like threw me for a loop.
Yeah. Oh no, you got to watch it like 3 months early. Like, I'll probably put it on when it comes out, in like 2 weeks, just to watch it.
Right. Exactly. I mean, in these days, people have so much they can consume at home. Like, I don't see what the home advantage is. They just, like you said, they'll just watch something else until it like comes out, and who cares, Yeah, movies aren't events anymore. It's kind of sad. Anyway, so this one is about Twilight. I'm kind of scared. So it says, if the Twilight Saga came out today, it would be out of any other movie's league. It depends what you mean by that. I watched the Twilight Saga recently. 25-year-old male. Thank you for that random information. And it's honestly the first time in a long time I was actually invested in a film. Oh. What Marvel has done is quite amazing and stands out from other modern movies. Oh. But apart from that, almost any other movie I've watched in the last decade, maybe the last more than 5 years, has honestly been a case of, man, is it really going to be worth it to waste my time on this? And then afterwards, at best, I guess I enjoyed myself. I don't know what to do with this. I don't want to be mean, but like, are you an alien? I'm just kidding. But Twilight is terrible. I'm sorry. Like, there's nothing. Literally the worst movie I've ever seen is the first Twilight movie. Literally the worst movie. Like, literally, if I had to rank all my films, I'd be sure that the first Twilight movie would be the bottom, the literal bottom. I would rather watch The Room 10 times than watch Twilight.
Are you sure? Like, what was that? Birdemic?
That
was painful to watch.
That was. You're right about that. That was extremely painful to watch. I think I still would rather watch Birdemic because I at least have fun psychoanalyzing what the heck the director is thinking when he's making this movie. Twilight is actually not even funny bad. That's what bothers me. Like, Birdemic's not funny bad either. It's just bad. But, like, you know, Twilight, like, there's still redeeming quality about it. I can't even enjoy myself in how bad it is. It's just, it's so terrible. There's these dumb. The cinematographer like feels like he got bored halfway through the movie, and he just randomly starts whooshing the camera in every direction. Like, and I'm not even kidding. Like, if I saw an interview of him saying, "I got bored halfway through the movie, so we had extra money, so I just rigged the camera up and just started flying it in every direction during random dialogue scenes," that would make sense to me, and I would applaud that because it probably made the movie better. Just doing random camera actions probably made the movie better. But yeah, that movie's terrible. I don't know how you could feel invested in any of it at all. The characters are so hateable. Like, they're just like, think about the most like silver spoon kind of like attitudes towards life, like spoon in mouth, like, I'm going to complain about these teenage problems for 45 minutes of really terribly written dialogue. And like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say about that. And I actually respect much more that you enjoy Marvel movies than that you enjoy Twilight. That I can understand a lot more, because at least they're put together in a competent manner. They put the scenes together and it makes a competent story. It's competently shot. The shots actually are chosen. Versus Twilight, which is
still bad though, relatively speaking.
Yes, it's still bad. But I mean, if we're talking about Twilight, I mean, everything is better. So
it's true. I've never seen Twilight myself, actually. Nor have I read the books, but I don't intend to. So
could not recommend little enough.
I've never seen them either, but I have, what was it, The Last Vampire on Earth? It's like the parody of it, which is a brilliant film.
I would 10,000 times rather watch The Last Vampire on Earth.
I watched it here, The Last Vampire on Earth? Was that a different one? But the movie I watched it, was that a different one?
Yeah, you watched it with me. Yeah, I showed it to you. Yeah.
But the parody? That's supposed to be serious, or is it a parody?
Well, no, I think it's actually supposed to be a serious movie, but he's riffing on he's like trying to copy Twilight's success, if that makes sense. Okay. Not as a parody.
It's terribly done, but in a funny way.
Yeah. I would agree that actually, in terms of my Letterboxd rankings, it's not going to do very well, right? Last Vampire on Earth. But in terms of would I rather put this in my Blu-ray player, I have it on disc. Actually, I own this film. Daniel gave it to me, I think, or maybe Steph gave it to me. I can't remember, but would I rather pop in Last Vampire on Earth? I think Steph gave it to me actually. Would I rather pop in Last Vampire on Earth or Twilight? I would 100,000 times any given day watch. I would watch Last Vampire on Earth all day if you wanted me to, rather than watch Twilight once in the same day. So I would be so much more entertained by the Oscar speech alone in Last Vampire on Earth. But yeah, for those who don't know what I'm saying, because it's not a popular movie, unfortunately, you should watch Last Vampire on Earth. It is a terribly great movie. So yeah, the Oscar speech is my favorite thing.
I think my favorite line from that is just like when she finds out he's a vampire, and she's like, have you seen Jesus?
Oh my gosh. I should just do an episode just on Last Vampire on Earth and just how great it is. One of the greatest films ever. Oh man. What is it, like Death and Things I Do Not Understand? I don't know. It's just so funny. It's freaking hilarious. Oh man. Yeah, I'd also rather watch that than any Marvel movie, to be clear. But anyway. Let's see. Okay, so this one's for Ben. I think you found this one, so do you want to explain?
I did, although I didn't read all the way through it, so, and there's not much. Basically, this is just this person's ranking of Mahler's symphonies, and then I looked at the numbers, and I looked at some of the comments too, because that's always interesting. So this person basically goes from best to worst. We say Mahler 2, 9, 3, 10, 7, 4, 5, 8, 6, and then 1 last. And there's some controversial things in there.
Hot takes.
Yeah. So, okay, 2 being first is not. I think most people wouldn't argue with you. I do personally. It's not my favorite, but I'm a little strange. Okay, so just like my overall thoughts, I mentioned before, but my overall like opinion of Mahler is that Mahler is really great in short chunks. He's there's kind of a quote where he's kind of like responding to Sibelius, kind of too big. Well, Sibelius maybe a little bit after they overlap to some extent, but kind of big composers at the end of the 19th century, beginning of 20th century, big symphony composers. And Sibelius says like he admires severity of style and like kind of organic composition, organic growth in composition. And Mahler says, no, a symphony must be like the world. It must contain everything. That's kind of a famous quote. And it's really, there's no better summation of his music than that. He tries to contain every possible human emotion and pretty much all of them in one symphony. And a lot of really beautiful stuff, but it just, to me, like, I have really difficulty sitting through one of his symphonies. It's just like too many emotions at one time. And like my brain, can only handle so much. Just kind of a controversial thing to say. So my favorite Mahler symphony is number 4 because that's his lightest symphony. It's still got plenty of really beautiful stuff in it. It's still pretty emotional, but it's the most subdued of his works. So my first, other than the, I'd put 4 before 2. So some other things that this person said that are kind of controversial. Number 1, why on earth are you going to leave out Das Lied von der Erde, the Song of the Earth? I don't know why you'd leave that out. So Mahler writes 9 symphonies, but before he writes his 9th symphony, because he, he's afraid of the 9th symphony curse, but you die after you write your 9th symphony, he decides to write a symphony, but add a bunch of singers singing texts from some ancient Chinese poet, and he's it's a symphony, but he doesn't title it a symphony. So he calls it Song of the Earth, and he thinks, well, great, now I can write Symphony Number 9, and like I'll escape the curse. Of course, he dies after he writes his numbered 9th symphony, so didn't spare him from death. But that really absolutely should count, and that is probably my number 2. So you don't even have it. This person doesn't have it on the list. Some of the other comments have it at like the bottom of their list. That's that's great. Okay, I can understand putting number 9 second. So number 2 is probably the most broadly popular. Number 9 is also very famous, but number 9 is a little bit too overwrought. Leonard Bernstein calls it 4 ways to say goodbye. Each movement is a different way to say goodbye, because Mahler knows he's at the end of his life. And it definitely has that sense of being like, I'm probably gonna die soon. And also my wife is like cheating on me while I'm like locked away to like preserve my health. It has that sense about it, and which is literally what he's thinking while he's writing it. And yeah, you can imagine why it's overwhelming. So I've heard it in live before, I made it through it, but like I can't stick it in my CD player, listen to it right now and make it all the way through. Kind of controversial this person to put Symphony Number 3 third. I would actually agree with that. I'd make it number 3 for me. So I go probably 4, Das Lied, number 3. Number 3's got some really cool melodies in it. It's just very long. It's like an hour and a half long. But otherwise, like, again, it's a little bit like 4, a little bit more restrained. 10 doesn't count. Mahler died before he finished it. You're not listening to Mahler's 10th Symphony. Sorry. You're listening to like some fragments that he wrote and then someone else's reconstruction of it. So I don't count that. Yes, the first movement, which is the most complete of them, is really fantastic, but I don't think you can put that on a list. 7, no. 7 is just like one of the most, sorry, but 7 is one of the most boring symphonies I've ever come across. It's controversial for me to say that, but it's also probably his least popular symphony. Number 5, I don't know why that's so low. That's the other one. It's probably people generally like 2 and 5, and then 9. 5 is so many. Each movement is great, but it's a little bit too long for me. Too many emotions. 8 and 6, I agree with those being towards the bottom. Again, just too large for me. Too long. Number 1 is also good because, and I don't know why you put it last. This person says that it's a bit naive. I think that's a good thing. It's a little bit more like trusting in the world and like just enjoying being alive and writing music. It's a charming little piece. So
yeah, I haven't listened to all of Mahler's symphonies, but I've listened to a good bit of them. Maybe not the majority. Maybe 4. Maybe I have listened to 5 of them. And he's actually one of my favorites, and I do get what you're saying, because especially with the 9th, which it is my favorite. It is extremely overwhelming. I agree with that entirely. It just even remembering it is just like I totally get that. It's very emotional.
I'm just surprised that y'all can remember them based on number. I feel like I would not be able to do that. I don't have a like words to associate with them, it's just numbers.
9 is not that hard. When you talk about like Haydn, his 104 symphonies, yeah, it's a little bit harder. I've tried to listen to a few more since that conversation we had about John Williams, thinking he's the best composer. But even though I've listened to like a couple of them and like a string of them in like the 40s, I'm not sure I could tell you which one is which if you just give me a number, like 41 versus 44.
Well, actually, is he the best composer? I don't know. You didn't update us on.
I mean, I can see why John Williams really likes listening to him, even if it's not like incredibly obvious how he how he influences John Williams.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, and the last hot take. We already did this one. Whoops. I love how this just appeared one line huge. Give me a second. There we go. It says, pirating dead games is completely okay. Let's see. I can kind of anticipate where they're going with this, but it says, there's absolutely nothing wrong with pirating dead games like COD, Black Ops 1, or old single players like Outlast. The game creators do not make any money from these games anymore, therefore piracy hurts developers' argument when it comes to these games is dumb. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to keep this short since we're running out of time and I haven't eaten dinner yet. But so it's interesting because it's not a game design question. This is not even a question that necessitates me being a game developer, right? It's like a moral, it's like an ethical question or whatever. I mean, it's like, okay, so I got this saying, okay, is stealing bad because it hurts something else in like a monetary sense? I don't really think so alone, I mean, okay, imagine you go to the toilet paper factory, you steal one roll of toilet paper. Are they going to care? I mean, like in terms of their financial stability, are they going to actually feel anything? No. Like, should you steal toilet paper? Probably not. Especially, we're talking about luxury here. We're not talking about food or something like that, where, okay, maybe you can make a better case of like, oh, I'm starving or something like that, right? It's like literally entertainment that you're privileged to have. There is nothing that says that you're required to have this thing. Yeah, I mean, also, a lot of people say like, this is the thing with Nintendo a lot. It's like, oh, Nintendo has all these old games and they won't release them or they won't sell them to me or whatever, so I'm just gonna pirate it. It's like there's a reason. There's a reason why. Okay, Nintendo is not selling games because they just don't want to make money. Okay, I thought about this for a moment. I was like, well, the thing about Nintendo platforms, like as in their consoles, because Nintendo not only, but they mainly release games on their consoles, right? That's kind of like how they operate, right? Whereas most they're very very unique in the way they do it because they make their own consoles and they make their own games for their own consoles that are very specific to work with their own consoles. It's very strange, but it works, right? So they have a very tight ecosystem or tight gaming ecosystem. They have a very tight reign over what's on their consoles. If they added every game in existence that they ever made to their thing, like, you think anyone's ever going to buy their new games? You think anyone's going to buy their new consoles? Like, no. There are 90,000 Marios out there that you can buy, or 90,000 Pokemons you can currently buy. Why are you going to buy the most new Pokemon? Because it has it takes advantage of these Switch features. Okay, sure, but there are like probably 74 different Pokemons that are more high rated. Not there are 74. I'm exaggerating, but there are going to be a lot of different games that are more. You might want to play more, especially because. In the games industry, they expect that after a game reaches a certain age, you reduce the price of it significantly. It depreciates pretty fast, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's like, would they rather you buy $2 Pokemon or $60 Pokemon? And on their old consoles that everyone already has, they're not going to sell anymore. It's like they're fixing the whole indie game apocalypse thing by just not selling their old stuff. Yeah, I mean, so I guess in terms of Nintendo, yeah, it probably would hurt them if you pirate their games because you're no longer playing the new version of the game. So that's not even entirely true for all games. I mean, you can even say that you can broaden that to a more general thing of just that if you can pirate games, now there are more games in general to get, and many of them are now quote unquote free because of piracy, which means you're less inclined to get any game that has just been released and whatever. Sort of like it's like a sort of artificial scarcity in a way. The thing is, it's not even scarce to begin with, so so it's because it's already a bad situation. It's just making it less bad, I guess. Because I mean, if in a world where every game ever is up for sale, that is a world where probably being a game developer, like starting up, is probably very, very, very hard. Harder than it is already. So I kind of get that. What about okay, so I just said piracy hurts developers. I guess I won't even get into the ethics of it. Just on a economical standpoint, I think it does. So there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of concur. I mean, just to touch on the ethics a little bit, I think the concept that harm entails moral hazard is just not correct. I think you could probably find very obvious examples upon reflection very quickly as to.
And you have to ask yourself, like, harm to what, right? So if you say like harm to like an individual, a group, a company, right? Like one action may be harm to one person, but it might be great for a whole group of people, or something, or the opposite, right? Okay, which one's good? Which one's the good action? Or is it neither? Is it both? Like. I mean, you're gonna have to draw some arbitrary line somewhere about how you decide what's good or bad. Is it just for yourself? In which case, you have become the center of the universe for yourself. I mean, it sounds kind of whack, right? I think most of us agree that we cannot do things that are, it's not necessarily morally good for us to do things that are only in our own interests in terms of like what we want, if it means that we're doing wrong in other ways, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I think you don't have to be that. You don't have to be a super smart philosopher to realize that like the harm theory is not the way to go.
Yeah.
I hate to the exposure argument. So like just the other day, in this Facebook group, the John Powell like fan Facebook group, not the John Powell's personal page. Some person, I guess, I didn't see the original post, but clearly this guy posted like a little clip from like one of the How to Train Your Dragon movies and said something like, look how awesome John Powell's music is, and an admin deleted it because you're not allowed to do that, right? It's illegal you don't own the clips, and it's linked to YouTube video that's up there illegally. And the person, so I didn't see the original post. The person then writes a post. It's like, wow, what's wrong with these admins? I'm probably going to kick you off for saying this, but like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Like, I love John Powell. Like, and I said, okay, so I commented and said something like, if you really like John Powell, then don't hurt him and any of the people who are associated with the film by, pushing out illegal content. You're only hurting them financially, even if it's just a tiny, microscopic fraction, right? And the person's response was, "I'm actually helping them because I'm giving them lots of exposure and like advertising how great their music is." And I'm like, yeah, and exposure is what they accept that at the grocery store down the street. Last time I checked, they didn't do that, so.
It's like, let me force you to accept my idea of what's best for you. Like, what kind of ridiculous, what kind of ridiculous thought pattern is that? Like, it's like, John Powell didn't say you can do this, right? So, unless you think you're his like, parent and can tell him what's best for him, like, stay out of it.
But I gave John Powell 0.05 units of exposure.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I've also heard the case for piracy that it's like, well, it's like a demo, right? Like if I don't want I'll pirate it, and if I don't like it in the end, then I'll just I'll stop playing it. But if I do like it, then I'll eventually buy it or something like that. And it's like, oh, this is good for devs in the long run. I mean, okay, but if you couldn't pirate, you would just buy it, right? That'd be your only option. You would just buy it. or you wouldn't buy it, right? This is like, okay, you don't go and like grab some lettuce from like grocery store and be like, do I like this lettuce? Yeah, okay. I guess I'll pay for it. No, it doesn't work like that. You pay for the lettuce and then you use it. I don't understand why it would just work differently.
The digital age, it's just different because reasons. That's why.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, but then you really can just apply this to anything where like the supply is essentially, or at least the thing you're stealing is essentially valueless almost. You know what I'm saying? Like one sheet of paper, for example, from Paper Factory. It's like, this really has no value. This is one piece of paper. And in terms of like value to create it, I mean like how much it costs to make it. Really, one sheet costs like a fraction of a cent or something like that, right? Essentially enough. It's something you can find on the street, but like, yeah, it doesn't justify taking the paper.
The only thing I could say, like, in terms of this particular scenario is, like, maybe there's something to be said if there's no one to claim the rights over the thing anymore, which is not the case with most games, definitely. But, like, if it's, like, some old, I don't know, something probably really old would fall under this category where there's no one to claim rights over the thing anymore. So it's kind of become property and custody of humanity, if in a sense, if that makes sense, because there's no one that owns it. It's abandoned, and then maybe you could make an argument. But if you're talking about games that are just simply not in circulation, most games that are not in circulation still have an owner, even if the
not
owner
selling it for some reason, care. Right? Like,
yeah.
Exactly. If it doesn't hurt Nintendo, why are they suing people over it? Right? If it doesn't hurt people, why do they get sued? Because they feel like throwing away like legal money and time randomly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just because it's made of bits, man. That means it has no value. So, yeah. Okay. News.
Oh yeah, I think you'll find this one funny. It's actually it's half film news. So Nintendo Direct happened, which is like Nintendo's like news thing they do every once in a while, and they're reviewing a new Mario movie, and that's already bizarre. Okay, listen to the cast. Get ready. This is about to be insane. I don't know.
All right. If Nicolas Cage is not in here, they're doing it wrong. If Nicolas Cage is not in this Mario movie, they're doing it wrong.
I'm afraid not.
If Nicolas Cage needs to be Mario, and then I'll love this movie to death.
Oh, you know who's Mario? Get ready.
Okay.
Chris Pratt is Mario.
That sounds like they're taking themselves seriously, and I'm scared.
No, but Chris Pratt is like also somewhat, he's known for comedies too. So
no, I know, but like I'm scared they're actually going to make it try to make it like a straightforward comedy instead of just making it something so bizarre and strange.
No. The rest of the cast is bizarre. It has to be bizarre. I think it has to be.
Okay.
Get ready. So I've never heard of this person, but maybe you have because you're a movie person. Anya Taylor-Joy. Do you know who that is?
Not off the top of my head, but I'll look it up.
Okay, well that's Peach. Charlie Day is? Luigi. Mm-hmm. And Bowser is Jack Black, and that's where I was like, no, it's not real. This has to be a joke.
I'm still kind of scared that they're gonna write it for like children.
No, it gets worse.
Okay, keep
going. Dude, they have to cast someone for Toad, man. For Toad. It's Keegan-Michael Key, and I was like, it's definitely a joke.
Okay, interesting.
I don't even know.
Interesting. Super Mario
Donkey
Brothers
Kong.
movie.
What is that?
I was just seeing the headlines now, and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen.
Oh my. Wait, is this animated or is this live action?
I have no idea.
I really hope it's live action.
They don't look like the characters at all. So like, I would assume animated, but
no, if it's animated, it won't be as stupidly funny.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If it's like live action, it'll look more funny seeing like Jack Black be Bowser. Because that's just funny.
Just stupid.
What would the plot be?
I guess if the plot
Peach was stolen by Bowser. It's the classic plot.
Stolen by Bowser.
How do you make a movie out of that?
How do they make 90 games like that? I don't know.
Well, it's also
the games. I don't know. It's not the same thing as like a movie. I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
it could be like more creative. Like Detective Pikachu was not like the world's. It was an okay film, you know, and like it was a different-ish concept for Pokemon too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Also, like the story of Bowser stealing Peach for Mario and Luigi to save her and company. That's not very feminist. So I wonder if there's going to be.
Oh, I think it's animated. It seems to be animated.
No. I want to see Keegan Michael Key as Toad.
Okay, that's just a bit more scary because then it's more towards, oh, this is actually like a normal comedy, you know?
Yeah.
This needs to be like a Who Killed Captain Alex kind of comedy, you know? It's like it's just bizarre. Yeah. The rest of the names who I don't recognize are Fred Armisen, Kevin Michael Richardson, Sebastian Maniscalco, or something like that, and cameos from Charles Martinet. So, yeah, that's
interesting.
That's that.
It better be some schlock, some terrible schlock, like just garbage, but great garbage. You know.
I'm gonna guess that like they're probably gonna they're probably gonna do like 8-bit music. They're gonna go with the guy who won the what's the name of the competition? They just announced the winner for this year for Stargirl, but what's the name of the I'll think of it, but the big film music competition, I guess probably 2019. Guy who did just 8-bit music for something that kind of seems like an inappropriate scene for 8-bit music, which is kind of the novelty value of it. And I watch him get to be the composer for this.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know why Nintendo thinks that this is worth their money, but hey. Actually, you said Nintendo is funding it, or has it been licensed out to?
Well, I'm looking at a Twitter post that I guess an announcement post from what I assume is the animation company called Illumination. Yeah, the official home of. Oh wait. They did Minions, and Sing 2. Okay, well, I guess they're the animation company, I'm assuming. And then it says like Illumination plus Nintendo, so I assume they're also funding it like proper, you know.
That's bizarre. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Why can't they give me money is my question. Why does everyone else get money except for me? For these concepts that no one will remember in 2 months after it's released.
They did a lot of, or I've done a lot of animation for movies. Jeez.
Yeah. I don't.
Huh?
What? Go ahead.
Huh? I was just Despicable Me. That's what I said. I was just reading. I was looking at it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's any. Huh?
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna move on if you didn't. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna move on. I was just gonna say I don't think I have any movie news. If you're on our Discord, I'm trying to post there a lot more often when random movie things come about. So just join our Discord and you'll hear my live thoughts of things. I saw, not movie news, but I saw Citizen Kane in the cinema, and I've got to say, I remember watching it, like bits and pieces of it on TV, like ages ago, and I didn't remember anything from it because I don't think I was really paying attention. That movie is freaking amazing. It
really is.
It's something else. It truly is one of the greatest. And I was not expecting to come away with such strong feelings, but I feel very strongly about Citizen Kane. Great movie. Anything in music?
Nothing that I can think of. I will say I spent yesterday and this morning watching Star Wars Visions, which just came out this week, which is kind of cool. It's a project with Lucasfilm to a bunch of big Japanese anime companies and said, like, basically just create like a 15 to 20 minute Star Wars stories, do whatever you want with them. And it's kind of cool. Some of them, like some 3-pitch swing and misses, strikeouts, and then some like real home runs. So it seems like that could be a direction that Disney may take with Star Wars in the future, kind of Star Wars anime, which is the ones that were really good. It'd be really cool to see some of that stuff. So I recommend watching that if you have Disney Plus.
Anime is one of those surprising things that people to hear is undervalued. Anime has a big explosion coming. You'd think it's already exploded enough. I don't think so. I think anime is only going to get larger. The anime sphere respects the art form a lot more than we currently respect our art forms here in the West. So,
and my goodness, too, the music for a lot of these was just incredible. Gigantic symphonic like soundscapes that are so, like, some of them were like very clearly John Williams. Some of them were like not, but still just like really fantastic. And also some of the studios I noticed were crediting all the musicians too, which is very cool, because still does not happen much in the United States.
Yeah, 100%. I think Japan does a better job respecting the art form than we respect our Hollywood stuff, which is garbage. So yeah. Okay, is that it?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're gonna hear my Rumble pitch real quick. If you're on Rumble, we love you guys, but we need help. I'm gonna make this very quick. I want to get on Rumble live because I think it'll be very impactful for the channel. So if you go to mixedmedia.locals.com, link in the description, we will get on Rumble live so that you don't have to be on YouTube or Twitch or whatever other platform that we might be going on to in the future in order to listen to us. If you'd rather stay on Rumble, then what happens is we'll be streaming live, simulcasting to Rumble. So go to mixedmedia.locals.com. We just need one person at the lowest tier, and we'll have live streaming on Rumble. I promised last week that I would clarify the tiers on Rumble. I have yet to do that. My week ended up being extraordinarily busy. It's one of those things where like you're like, oh yeah, I finished like a whole bunch of things. Now I get to like, take a more relaxed week. But then you realize all the things that you were neglected while you're in that high intensity period that need to get done, and then so you end up like loading your schedule with those things. That's really what happened. But hopefully this week I will clarify those tiers, and you'll understand what you get with each tier. I will make sure everyone is happy as best as I can. So yeah, that's my pitch. So yeah, go ahead.
One last thing. I saw this a while ago. I just forgot to mention it. Steph said, "Please, last Vampire on Earth episode would be great." And that made me think, if we just had an episode on like so bad that it's good things, in our industry. I don't know if that applies for music though, because I don't know if I've ever heard of a song that was like, "This is so bad that I actually like it." I was like,
I can't think of anything, but I love Last Vampire on Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
They have notable music.
Yeah, I mean, I'll actually see. There might be an outside chance. What if we could get what's his face on the show? Yeah, what's his name?
No way, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna try for it. I'm gonna try my best. You'd be surprised who will respond to you positively if you just ask.
Though. We just said it was horrible.
I think he could take it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'll let him know in advance what I think about his films, and then if he takes himself seriously enough that he can't get on the show, then that's one thing. But if he realizes the meme that he is, also maybe I don't want him on the show now that I think about it, because he makes some weird stuff as well that is kind of bizarre. I think Ben knows what I'm talking about. Accidentally happened upon some disturbing stuff, so maybe not that, but I'll see what I can think of in terms of Last Vampire on Earth, and maybe we'll just do a fun episode about that. Cool. Maybe actually, what might be awesome is he might let us stream the film and live react to it the entire way, and just do like a watch along. Huh?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Oh,
I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it's like an hour and 15 or something like that.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, we can just watch it and like give our live commentary of the film if he gives us permission. But I need written permission, of course, so we don't get sued. So, yeah, I assume he owns this film. So
Let's say make sure he actually owns it.
I'm gonna guess that he owns this film. All right. So with that, look forward to those things. If you want to see updates like that, on stuff like that, and give your 2 cents, hit us up in the Discord. Link is in the description. Even if you're on the podcast, I put even more links in the podcast description. So, wherever you are, you can find wherever we are. We're here every Friday at 7 p.m. on YouTube and Twitch, streaming live if you're watching afterwards and want to know how you can participate in the conversation. So with that, I'll say have a great week.
Yeah, thanks for listening and watching.
See you next time.